Good morning, everybody. How we doing? Sam being on People's TV here with another Chipper show talking about Kobbie Mainoo. No, well, we will be speaking about Kobbie Mainoo after David Ornstein's confirmed that he's open to leaving United. Now, does that mean he's leaving? No, but I think it definitely means that we need to have a conversation about what's going on this season with Kobbie, about his future, about Bruno. Yeah, there's a big old conversation I want to have there. We'll also run through everything that we know ahead of next Monday's transfer deadline. It's going to be a busy 6 days. We're hopefully getting the deal done for Lammens, a new goalkeeper that we know we need, right? What's going on about a midfield signing? And then you've got Hojlund, Sancho, Garnacho, Anthony, Malacia. The entire bomb squad is still there. We haven't sold any of them. I'm going to bring you all the latest from The Athletic. And yeah, I'm sure it'll be an interesting chat down here this morning. Let's see who's here from the mods and the members gang. Good morning to you, Jim. I can see you down there. I've now made you a mod, so you can crack the whip down there. Alex, good morning to you. Steph, good morning to you. And I saw you there as well. And Josh. We've got Sasha. We've got Foxy. Paul. We've got Vince. Steve, we've got C. Billington. Good morning to everyone. Can I say before I do kick off today's show, the PO box is now working. I know, I apologise about everything that's happened so far. I'm now starting a formal complaint process. I'm still trying to find anything that was sent before, and I know that a couple of you sent some packages, so I'm trying my best to find those. But I've had it confirmed this morning that the PO box is working. Something's en route. Someone sent, big up to Stu who sent something in. So if you'd like to, and you want to send stuff for the wall up there, which we can now fill, please do. And if you do send it, make sure you're only sending from the UK, because if you send something from abroad, I don't think it can be guaranteed that it will come to me. So I need to find out. Jim, you're there. Need to try and find out, how can we get a PO box that people from outside the UK can send stuff to? I need to find that next. Right? It's going to be a busy show today. I imagine we're going to have a few extra lives this week, all right? I've got to start by talking about that. I was watching it with my mate last night. He's a Newcastle fan. A serious game of football from a neutral perspective. Ridiculously entertaining game of football. 110th minute. Your jammy. Cosmo saying unboxing stream. I did think about that. If enough stuff gets sent, we can do something on maybe the Friday shows towards the end of it. That could be fun. Tommy's saying if we send something sentimental, would it be possible to get it back in the future? I mean, probably, but it'll just be a little bit difficult for me to manage and understand exactly who sent what and being able to personally send it all back. So I'd probably say don't send something in that you want back. If it's sentimental to you, you keep it for yourself. It's yours, right? Bye. That was dead annoying last night. Let's be totally honest. It was a ridiculous performance from Newcastle in that second half, though. Anthony Gordon's an absolute whopper for doing that. And this, like, I'm not even doing this to point and laugh at Newcastle anymore. I'm looking at this and going, 50 mil for Strand Larsen. 50 mil for Strand Larsen being rejected. Huh? I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm ignorant about how good Strand Larsen is. I don't know. But it's just a bit. They rejected that. 50 mil. Man, Newcastle seriously cannot catch a break when it comes to trying to sign a striker. I'm laughing about that. But let's run through everything, okay? As I said, if United won't, but if United got everything done in these next 6 days, which they would like to do, then we're going to have one new goalkeeper signing, one new athletic midfield signing. We're going to sell Garnacho. We're going to sell Sancho. We're going to sell Who else have I forgotten about? Sancho, Garnacho, Malacia, Anthony. That's 6 deals. 6 or 7. That's what United would like to do in the next 6 days. Like somewhere between 6 and 7 transfers, right? If we take a look at the whiteboard, I apologise I've not been using the whiteboard as much this summer. It's just been a bit full on, I think. So many midfielders that we're linked with, and this is kind of where we're at currently. Loads and loads of loan moves. Hojlund. That's who I forgot about. Hojlund, thank you very much. Loads of loan moves. And the only money that we've made so far this summer has been through sell-on clauses for players who previously were sold. Right? There's not been... I do believe that we are the only club in the Premier League who is yet to make a penny through a sale. It's mad. The only club. So let's run through everything. Let's speak about signings first, okay? And then we're going to have a conversation about Kobbie. Right? So don't worry. We're having that conversation today. But Lammens, nothing was said yesterday. The latest that we heard from Fabrizio was that, well, not from Fabrizio. He was left out of the Antwerp squad this weekend. And we're just waiting for the bid to go in. I think they want a little bit more than United wanted to pay at the beginning. Blah, 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 blah. All right? United, get that deal done. Get your goalkeeper in good. Get him in for probably not the Burnley game, but, well, geez, your first game be City away. That'll be mad. Anyway, this is what the Athletic are saying there. United enter negotiations over the weekend. That's it, right? It should be a case of, I think the next thing with Lammens will be the here we go. Right? I think so. We'll see. But, man, I can only speak for myself here. And last week I said that if there was one signing that United needed to make between now and the end of the window, I would prioritise a goalkeeper. And then you see a game like Fulham, and you kind of fleet back towards a midfielder. And then United need both. And that's not a case of being greedy as a United fan and thinking, oh, just new signings will sort out the problems. Well, no, it's just that there are two fundamental problems that exist in this squad. United have prioritised this summer signing goals in Cunha and Bumo and Šeško. We haven't got that athletic midfield signing that we have been linked with all summer long. This is the latest from the Athletic. An athletic dynamic midfielder has consequently been on United's list all summer. Now, we went after the creme de la creme. We went after the best midfielder that we could go after. The price was set too high, right? United stepped back from the pursuit of Baleba a fortnight ago, with Brighton reluctant to sell and demanding a fee at the level of Caicedo's move to Chelsea. Which is zero surprise, right? Zero surprise. I'm Steez down there. Let's give you a little bit of a time out there for misunderstanding what an opinion is. Sam's opinion is wrong again. Nah, I won't time you up. Just can't be asked. An opinion cannot be wrong. You might disagree with it, but an opinion quite literally cannot be wrong. So you might want to go and check your definitions there. 115, it's not surprised exactly what I thought his price would be. Now, you might argue about it in the comments if you want, but Declan Rice going for over 100 mil, Caicedo's going for 115 mil, and Baleba having a price off that. It's just that those ridiculous, endless midfield engines, they come with that price. I suppose you could throw Enzo Fernandez in that if you want, but I think Enzo Fernandez's price was inflated by the World Cup. Right? That's what I think so anyway. As it stands, you can see down there, alternatives such as Adam Wharton and Morten Hojlund have both been admired. But right now, there's no suggestion that United are going to be signing a Baleba alternative. As it stands, United are going to be sticking with what we've got, which isn't enough, and probably going after Baleba again next summer, which may not happen because next summer we know there's going to be significantly more competition. That's why we tried to steal a march this summer, but we just didn't have the funds for it. Someone down there, Kari, saying, do you think his price will increase next year? No, I don't think it will. I don't think his price can get any more expensive, really. Okay? Nah, it won't. I don't know whether Brighton are going to have the greatest of years anyway. But I actually think his price... I think his value will go down next summer, but the amount of clubs that are interested in him will increase. Therefore, his price will go up because there'll be a bidding war. That's what I think. As it stands, it doesn't look like United are going to be signing the athletic midfielder that we all know we bloody need. It's almost like hilarious how much Manchester United, for a long time now, as long as I can remember, have just kind of overlooked the necessity to really, really, really invest in central midfield. I know that we've spent money on central midfield, but the Casemiro one was 70 mil on a 30-year-old who was going to be a here and now, and he was great for a season, and then past that, his legs caught up with him. At a time where the Premier League is just getting more and more and more and more athletic every single season, it wasn't hard to predict that Casemiro was going to fade. And especially with the system that Amorim has, when you're playing a midfield two, your two midfielders have got to be kind of physical freaks, really. They have to be able to cover so much ground, which we can't currently do. And we now need to have a conversation. Did I think that we would be having this conversation at some point? Yeah, I think so. Simply because he's not signed a contract in... How long has it been now since... the conversations first started about Kobbie and a new contract? I think he's got 2 years left on the original professional contract he signed. But he hasn't signed... I suppose it was a long-term contract. A lot has changed since Kobbie signed that original contract. Now, let me know where you stand on the whole Kobbie situation in the comments. I'll try and read as many of your comments out as possible. But the idea of Kobbie leaving is grim. Really, really grim. Right? And you're saying this mid-2 makes our weaknesses so much more evident. AFCON's going to be fun. We're already bypassing the midfield. It's worrying. In the bigger games, I actually think we'll be better what we were last year as well, to be fair. That's what I mean when I fleet between our goalkeeper's a priority. No, a midfielder's a priority. In reality, both of them are ridiculously important and necessary signings for the quality of this overall squad. Alex is saying Sam is blown out of proportion. He'll probably play tomorrow. Oh, he'll definitely play tomorrow. He'll definitely play tomorrow. But the reason we're having a conversation about it this morning is because David Ornstein has said this. Right? Kobbie Mainoo is open to leaving Manchester United. Head coach Ruben Amorim seems to prefer other midfielders, and the England international has entered the final 24 months of his Old Trafford contract. The issue is where Mainoo goes, as there do not appear to be many options ahead of this market closing. So this is coming from David Ornstein, which is why it's worthy of a chat. I could have, you know my stance on this. Like, I could have ran with the conversation yesterday off the back of, was it Alex Crook from TalkSport? I'd rather wait and get it right. Not to say that he was wrong, but I don't jump on things too early, unless it's from sources that I trust. And it's just my way of doing things, all right? Now, I've got, look, my lunchtime video is going to be sort of my opinion on this whole thing. I'll probably drop my opinion in here as well, but I want to know what you think. So I'm going to go down to the chat. Kobbie needs to be patient. He'll have his time. Says 1 ton. that sentence there, I disagree with. I'm not saying that he doesn't need to be patient. But if Ruben Amorim is going to, and I think he's correct to do this, by the way, if Ruben Amorim is going to say that Bruno Fernandes and Kobbie Mainoo are competing with each other for the same spot, I understand that. And I actually think it's the right thing to do. The only way a competition exists is if you give both opportunities. Now, I know that Kobbie's going to get his opportunity against Grimsby, but that's against Grimsby in the second round of the League Cup. It's not exactly going to be well, I suppose it will be a challenge itself, but Kobbie needs minutes in the Premier League and to have some of the opportunities that Bruno Fernandes does if it's going to be a competition. If it's not, then that's partly why this is happening. We know that Kobbie put the hard yards in during the preseason, well, off-season actually, with Lenny Yoro out in America. We saw all the training videos. Does Kobbie work perfectly in a midfield too? No. I think Kobbie would work best. You know how many conversations we had last season about what's Kobbie's best position? I think, who was it we played? Bucharest? It was in the Europa League. And then Kobbie ended up playing as a number 10. And we were like, boom. Kobbie's best performance of the season. There you go. That's his position. I actually think that the best position, if you were to tailor-make a team for Kobbie Mainoo, you go for a midfield 3, and he'd be one of the advanced number 8s. I think that would be the best one. But right now, you can't get that. But also, Bruno Fernandes doesn't suit a midfield 2 either. So it's not as if playing him there would... No. Let me see what you're saying down here in the chat. Right. Paulie's saying, I don't get why he's never getting a chance anymore. He's not even coming on. Is it a bad sign? It is a bad sign. If Maguire and Heaven are coming on and he need a goal. Well, let's truth be told, United didn't offer anything in that second half, really going forward against Fulham. We scored a set piece. Therefore, he went to try and we nearly scored again, by the way, because Maguire got that flick on. Ruben won't sub Bruno. I'll speak about that in my lunchtime video. Ravi saying, if United let Mainoo leave, I'll lose my mind. Every team has been given a wonder kid over the last 2 or 3 years. We lost Garnacho, and to lose Mainoo would be insane. If I'm Jason Wilcox, I don't know how this works. I don't know how the power dynamic works. When it comes to, let's like rewind to Erik ten Hag. And when Erik ten Hag sort of fell out with players. One sec. You, sir, are just getting banned from the channel. Boom. See you later, Jugastico. What was I saying now? Fuck's sakes. Well, I hate little spammy little twats. Boring. When Erik ten Hag fell out with players, they were just kind of casted aside because there was nobody above. By the way, I'm not here saying that Ruben Amorim's fallen out with anybody. Let me explain my story. When he fell out with players, there wasn't really anybody above that was trying to hold on to a vision of what Manchester United should be as a football club because there wasn't really the support network above him properly. It wasn't fully established until he was sacked. Only really got fully established this summer, really. But Erik ten Hag's decision was kind of final. If I'm Jason Wilcox, or I'm Omar Barada, and I'm talking about Project 150, Manchester United winning the title in 2028, and I'm talking about the vision and the future of my football club, I'm talking about Kobbie being a big part of that. Kobbie is Bruno's successor. Bruno's 31. Kobbie is the future of that role. And Bruno is the present. You have to be able to balance both. Right? And I would be fuming if the club was to lose Kobbie. If I'm looking at Garnacho, that sucked, by the way. That absolutely sucked what went on with Garnacho. But he got the Ronaldo attitude very early on, and unfortunately, it kind of steered him down the wrong path. Kobbie would, if he was to join basically any other Premier League team, get minutes, in a year or two, he'd establish himself as one of the best. It's not a difficult prediction. You saw his breakthrough. Remember, like how much better he made England look at the Euros. I'm gonna go down here and read some more comments out. If we're not going to sell Bruno, then it would have been better to sign a midfielder instead of Cunha or Mbeumo. This was kind of just the choice that United made. And again, we had this conversation so many times last season. You go, United, it feels like United have two options. You can either go big on a number 10 and play Bruno deeper, or big on a central midfielder and keep Bruno further forward. Now, the club decided to drop Bruno deeper, spend money, big money, on the number 10s. But even if we wanted to do it the other way around, Baleba would have cost near enough, 85% of the cost of both Cunha and Mbeumo. Right, apparently I'm missing some super chats down here. Samir saying, I could see Mainoo, Ugarte pivot, plus Cunha, Bruno and Šeško up front against Burnley. You think you're going to see all three of those up? I think you'll see Šeško start. So today's going to be a double drop day because, of course, we play Grimsby tomorrow night at 8 p.m. So lunchtime's going to be on the Kobbie situation, and probably about 7 p.m. I'll drop the Grimsby 11 as well. Vanna, you're saying if you can't fit Kobbie in your system, then the system is bad. Seems to be a lot of anger. Maybe I suppose the anger's kind of always been there about the midfield 2 setup. Is there anything that Amorim could do that would just be a slight tactical tweak? In fact, I don't know exactly what it is. What he could do, because right now you got, should I put it up on here? Yeah, let's put it up on here. Let's have a little chat. Right. Is that my predicted start 11 the other day? Can't remember. Right. Surely the easiest thing to do here, like, because people are annoyed about how United play and how we always get overrun in midfield, right? Because we've got 2 there. Surely the easiest thing to do is that. You just drop the number 9 on paper there, drop him in, and then you push the other 2 further forward. It's quite a small tweak. That make it a 3-5-2? I don't know. Obviously, well, you still have room for... Who would you then play there? Well, Bruno would play there. Then you could have Cunha, you could have Šeško, you could have Cunha and Mbeumo. I don't think that's too much of a tweak. Don't worry about the actual position, like the names here, people. I'm just looking at the actual formations. Because right now, this is how United play. With the number 9 that's supposed to stretch the team. That's been a big component of Amorim's successful sporting team. Have Victor Gyökeres there as the number 9, stretch the team, stretch the defences out, and it kind of left more room for the number 10s to operate. This would make it a lot more congested in the middle. We'll see. I don't actually think it's going to happen. And you're saying, haven't we spent long enough bending to players? I don't think this is a case of bending to players, right? I'm not saying that a whole system should be changed to accommodate an individual. But what I will say is that Manchester United should not be losing Kobbie Mainoo because we can't fit him in anywhere. Like, he's too good for that. He is, simply put, too good for that. And if it is going to be a competition, then competition is healthy. Then make it one. Give Kobbie the chance. And then you might even see an improvement from Bruno. Because right now, Bruno knows that he could probably wake up hungover after sneaking out. I mean, that wouldn't be what Bruno's ever done. But I'm saying Bruno could do whatever he wants right now, and he's kind of starting the next game by default. And that should never exist, really, with any Manchester United player, no matter how big or how small they are in stature and name. No player should ever have a guaranteed starting 11 spot week in, week out for Man United. Let me see what else you're saying down here. Still feels like pre-season we're working out our best team. I don't particularly think. I suppose we're trying to work out what the best midfield is, but I think we all know what our best team is? De Ligt in the middle. Shaw on the left right now. At some point we'll get injured. You're on the right. And maybe we don't know. Maybe we don't know. If we don't sign a DM, do you think Martinez could play there? No, I don't think he can. Again, simply too much ground coverage. The best role for Martinez is going to be left centre-back. But even if you're playing left centre-back, Dorgu's going to have to really double up and help and defend him and make sure to not leave him too isolated to have to go and cover that whole channel. Players need to compete, fight for every position. There's no such guarantee as a spot. Well, right now there is. And that should just never be the case. Now, I'm going to put a poll down here, right, and ask you a question. Do you think Kobbie will leave United? I'm not necessarily talking about in the next 6 days, right? Because I don't really think that's happening. I just want you to let me know, where do you see his future lying? Because, as I said there, if I'm Jason Wilcox and I'm looking at the long-term vision of Manchester United, I'm looking at Bruno Fernandes as I've already said this, but I'll say it again because this is really important, I think. You're looking at Bruno as the current and the present for that number 8 role, and you're looking at Kobbie, who is the future. Probably past this season. I think Bruno Fernandes, if he stays and all the Saudi nonsense sort of like disappears again, which he probably will, then I think Bruno leaving next summer will be kind of part of United's plan behind the scenes. Part of Wilcox and Barada's sort of vision for building the squad. Bruno this season, then next summer to sell Bruno, and then Kobbie steps into the role. And that's a pathway, that's a progression. That's what I think is going to happen next summer. I'm pretty sure I told you all that was my opinion. I want to say at the start of the summer. Well, actually, no, I think I did. It was after the Saudi news really happened. I think that was right at the beginning of June, wasn't it? Because we got the Cunha deal done. And then it sort of was breaking news that Bruno decided to say. Let me see what you're saying in the chat. If Kobbie won't sign a new contract, he has to be sold. Yeah, I think that's a pretty important part of this whole equation, isn't it? What's your take on the Kobbie contract situation? Why hasn't he signed it? Now, there's no point speculating that he's looking for more money, which may well be what it is. Doesn't really strike me as that's what it would be, but remember that the contracts are negotiated by the agents, not the players themselves. Now, you could say, of course, an agent won't do anything that hasn't got sort of prior approval from the player, and I can understand that. But his agent will probably be pushing for more than maybe Kobbie would be comfortable asking for. But that's what agents are there for, to look out for your best interests, right? What are you saying down here, right? Someone's saying he wants guarantees. No chance he's leaving, says Alex. Quite a lot of you so far. I've checked the poll down here. We've got 580 votes. And 73% of you are saying no. Mr. Mainoo disagrees, saying I can only see him leaving. Rex is saying I don't think he will go this summer, but I think he might leave in January or next summer. Loan as part of a Baleba deal would be the best scenario. I've seen a couple of people suggesting that. Well, it doesn't really change anything. I mean, when you think about that, of course it would suit United, but there's absolutely zero chance that Brighton would do that. What? So you want to sign our best midfielder, and then instead of us trying to sign a replacement, aka what we did when Caicedo left, you would expect us to just take Kobbie on loan for a year and develop him for you, and then hand him back. No, I don't think that's going to happen. Although you're right on paper, it's not going to happen. He's just waiting to see how United perform, says Foxy. Well, this has been going on for a long time, man. Like, quite a long time. The conversations around Kobbie and a new contract were there for a decent portion of last season as well. If he is to leave, it won't be because of playing. Rather, it will be his contract issue. Kobbie can't leave, man. And I'm not going to sit here shouting and suggesting that Amorim needs to change his system and throw it all out and do this and do that just to accommodate Mainoo. No. But at the same time, I also think Kobbie is such a talented individual that there has to be a place for him in that team. It would be a travesty if he just sits there the whole season and never gets any opportunities and there is no competition, and then he was to leave because he got frozen out. That would be horrendous in terms of the long-term vision of our football club and long-term squad building. Mainoo is a player that you would end... If you didn't have a Kobbie Mainoo in your squad and you needed one, you'd be going out and spending somewhere in the region of 50 to 100 mil. So you can't lose a player of that quality and value. Let alone the fact that he's come through the academy, he's a local lad, he clearly wants to be part of United, and he's put the graft in. What's saying down there? I feel like the midfield should be built around him. I think in the future, yeah. I really do. I agree with that. And he's saying in a midfield 3, Kobbie is an 8. In a 2, he's neither an 8 or a 6. He's a 10. 8, 6, 10. Square roots. Multiple. Come on, Ruben, man. Booty saying, Sam, relax. Mainoo's going to play. He's going to get a chance. Ruben knows what he's doing. No, Mainoo will start against Grimsby. And I'm sure he'll play great. Then what happens against Burnley? It's not a case of... I'm not here shouting for Bruno to be dropped or anything like that. I just want this competition that Ruben Amorim has himself explained. And that means in games, even if times where we're chasing in games sometimes, and you probably want Bruno Fernandes on the pitch, give the opportunity to Kobbie. We're speaking about competition and opportunities. Is it going to annoy Bruno Fernandes if that happens? Maybe a little bit, but what if Kobbie then comes on and impacts the game? Then you create healthy competition, and Bruno Fernandes will next time make sure that he cannot be taken off for Kobbie, and vice versa. It's healthy competition. It's the sort of competition that drives a squad upwards. It's like Richie saying we can win games whilst dropping Bruno. Look, I'm not talking about dropping Bruno. I just want competition, right? Tom Winley saying, I'm sorry for Sesko coming in such a toxic atmosphere. It's the complete opposite of how it all felt during pre-season. It wasn't a perfect pre-season. But those games, was it West Ham and Bournemouth? I think were good. And then we played Everton and it wasn't as good. And Fiorentina was a bit stinky. But everything that we saw during the entire pre-season was all about... And that's one thing I think Ruben Amorim has definitely got right. in terms of the culture that's happening behind the scenes, there's shoots of something new. And quite a few of them from different places and different players as well. But just freezing Kobbie out, I can't agree with. And it's not a case of freezing him out. I know, because it's 2 games into the season. I'm saying if this is a pattern which was to continue, then I completely understand why Kobbie Mainoo is open to leaving United. That's come from David Ornstein. I'll follow up on it if there's anything more, and I'll do my lunchtime video today. Can't be saying, Sam, do you think Bruno being captain is not helping him? Too much pressure? Nah, I don't think Bruno in the captaincy burdens him in the same way that it burdens Maguire, for example. That's kind of what I think there. Look, let's move on because we need to speak about a lot more exits. And I just really hope that there's no movement on any exit for Mainoo. Ever, really, from United. I want him to be a United player forever. A one-club man. That's the dream. Kobbie. Do you think Kobbie will leave United? 73% of you are saying no, and 27% of you are saying yes. And I very much hope that 73% of you are right. Okay. Why are you all coming for Amorim? Is there anybody going for Amorim down there? No? I don't think so. I'm not anyway. Let's speak about more exits. Okay. Hojlund. Now, Hojlund is somebody who wants to stay at United. We already know that. But this is the latest on his move to Napoli. Napoli are confident to get the Hojlund deal done very soon, and the talks are at final stages. Loan with the buy option clause to become mandatory for a fee close to a €45 million package. Contract until 2030. Good news. And actually really quite a good package overall for United to get 45 million, which I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is that around about bang on what we need to sell Hojlund for overall, so he doesn't become a net loss on PSR in terms of what we owe. I think that's correct. And that'll come from a little bit of a loan fee this summer. And then, so let's call it a €7 million loan fee. And then a €38 million fee next summer that becomes an obligation, probably if certain things are met. Seems to have happened a couple of times this season. Well, this summer anyway. Now, look. This is the right move for Hojlund, man. He's been left out of both squads. He's going to be left out against Grimsby. I think that's what David Ornstein said. Hojlund needs to move on for his own career. It was only a couple of weeks ago. Was it after the Fiorentina game? I can't actually remember. But it was only a couple of weeks ago where Hojlund was kind of in denial a little bit. Toby and Tony, but Toby, I apologise. I saw you give 5 memberships at the start of the show. I got distracted. Thank you very much, dude. And Tony. Toby and Tony. Bang, bang. United People's TT? Didn't make sense. In my head, I had Audi TT in my head. That's random. Who's that? Donald sent in a super chat. Let me read that one out. I understand the need not to want to change your formation, though I feel that we could do that and stick to principles like 4-3-3. No, so people keep talking about 4-3-3. I'm not talking about throw an entire formation, entire system out, change it, pull the wing backs, get rid of them, put 2 full backs down here, play 3 midfield there. No, play with 2 traditional wing. I mean, you're changing like bloody everything. It's not going to happen. But if you play the exact same system and you simply drop the number 9 deeper and then push the 2 number 10s forward so they become split strikers and the number 9 ends up becoming a number 10, then you keep the rest of the shape everywhere else. Same 3 at the back, same wing backs. But instead you create a third body in midfield and play with split strikers instead. It's one small tweak that may well overall suit the squad better. And right now, if you look at the game against Fulham, well, it didn't work. You look at the game against Arsenal, when it did work. We didn't score, though. Alex, I'll be doing the starting lineup video for Grimsby later on today, because the game's tomorrow. Hojlund will rock Serie A just like McSauce did. I love what's happened to McTominay, man. I think that's such an awesome story. I hope that he's been doing some, like, you see, like James Maddison started a football channel. Well, a football channel, a YouTube channel. It'll be awesome if McTominay's had, like, cameras following him behind the scenes. I suppose you'd already see the video by now if it was going to come out, which is a real shame. Someone down there saying you can have Šeško. Yeah, I know you got Šeško, but I'm not. And even if you were to do that, right? And I'll go back to this again. Doing this doesn't exactly take away from Šeško's ability to play, because you could play him as one of these two. Like these two are going to be cutting inside like that if you were to do it. And I wouldn't even in any way, shape or form suggest switching to 4-3-3. It's not going to happen. All right. It's just, that is a complete shift. Now, let's talk about it, twat. Look. This is the latest from Fabrizio. I think this was like 10 hours ago or something like that, saying Roma and Chelsea are in talks for Tyreek George. There's still no changes on the Jadon Sancho stance. Now, what was it last week, week before? Can't actually remember. When, sorry, my mind is frazzled this morning. I don't know why. Might be the Kobbie stuff. Sancho refused a move to Roma. We accepted a 20 million euro bid, and it felt like finally, we were getting somewhere. It was going to happen, and then nothing's happened since. Right? Nothing's happened since. Turns out Tyreek George has the same agent as Jadon Sancho, which may well be why those conversations are happening. But I'll ask you down here, right, in the chat. At this moment in time now, what is the best bloody case scenario for United that you think it could actually realistically happen? What is the compromise that United have got to go to? What lengths do we have to go to get this melt out of our football club? I don't get it. I mean, I do get it. He's just a twat, but I don't know how United get rid of it at this stage in the window. We've got like 6 days left. No one's willing to pay his wages. He's not willing to really move anywhere. I think after the window closes, you might then, if he's still here, fantastic. But you might then get the Turkey stories coming back. Yes, John, you're saying it down there. Stevens, you're saying it as well. Like, really do think United had to consider paying him off. As bad a business decision as that is, it's absolutely necessary for the football club. One time he's saying, talking about Sancho gives me PTSD. People are saying rip up the contract. That's not how contract law works, ladies and gents. All right? As much as I'd love to do that. That's just not something that the club will do. Feels like we're going to have, like, we got 5 mil from Chelsea for the loan that never happened. I wonder how that conversation would go. It's a really random thing for me to say, but type yes or no here. Like, if United went to Sancho and his agent, and United said, look, lad, you've got no future at this football club. You can't bloody find a new one. We will pay you this £5 million, which Chelsea gave to us because they didn't sign. We will give you this if you rip up your own contract right now in front of us. Here's £5 million. Rip that contract up and be on your way. I genuinely, by the sounds of it, I think it's something that Jadon Sancho would think about, because then he's a free agent a year earlier. Actually, would probably be exactly what he wants. And you're saying Ineos will be very conscious of the optics of what happens with Sancho. I think it's more important with the optics around Garnacho than it is Sancho. Like, we can't accept Chelsea's low ball. Someone down there saying crazy take. Most of you are saying no, he'd stay and he'd spite the club. I don't know. Would he do that? I don't know, maybe. I think he wants to be a free agent. He wants that payoff that will come as a consequence of him being a free agent. And if you offered him that a year earlier, don't pay him off, let him rot, ruin his career. Like, fuck his career. I'm talking about what's best for my football club. And it's not having this guy anywhere near it. In any way, shape or form. Not even setting foot in Carrington. Not even looking at an academy player. Not even speaking to a chef. And the only way you do that is by him not being here come September the 1st. Do not terminate his contract. Let him play somewhere for free this year. It feels like that. What's 250 grand a week over the course of the season? So we've got September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. 9 mil. If United were to pay his 50% of his wages, I suppose that would be 5 mil. It's kind of the same thing. So I think United, if he's going to leave and we're not going to do something crazy like ripping up his contract or doing a payoff, we're going to have to end up paying like 50% of his wages. Again. For him to go out on loan. Again. Oh, what an absolute twat. Of a player, man. Unbelievable. Now, Garnacho, we know exactly what's going on here, right? Although we found out something new this morning, to be fair. Let me pull this up. Do I have that page open? I don't. You can't get a staff these days. Yeah, my head is fried this morning. Sorry, everyone. I'm a bit tired. Maybe it is because it's negative. I saw that comment and I don't know what it is. It's just quite exhausting to sort of deal with that sort of stuff. Look, this is from The Athletic from David Ornstein. Speaking of United, it is expected that Garnacho will end up at Chelsea. And this is something new. A couple of bids have been rejected so far. Because we haven't heard about any bid. But David Ornstein said that a couple have gone in, so clearly they weren't anywhere near high enough for it to even come out as a story. I don't know. Someone down there saying ban Sancho from Carrington, force him to get a personal coach. United would probably get sued by Sancho because of player rights. And I believe it's because football players, elite level football players, have a right to be given the facilities to train and like the expectation that they get that at work. You might disagree with it, but I'm just talking about contract and employment law, and this is about law, and this is about rights. Even if you don't like the bloke, and we don't like the bloke, the United would not be able to get away with that. We wouldn't be able to simply banish him from Carrington. Wouldn't be possible. Anyway, first I'd heard of that. You know exactly what Chelsea are doing. They're trying to mug United off. Garnacho's trying to mug United off. I'll sit and wait. I'm going to refuse any... Bayern Munich, nah. Saudi, nah. Villa, nah. Absolutely everybody. Ignored. For Chelsea, because that's who he wants to join. And Chelsea haven't been paying up. So this is still the biggest deal that can go through for United this summer in terms of the cash coming in. According to David Ornstein, a couple of bids have actually gone in, but we don't know how much they were, right? What are you saying down here? What about the club's right to a player breaking contract? I don't think Sancho's done anything to break his contract so far. It's just been a bit of a dick. And unfortunately, being a bit of a dick is not written into a contract. Or not being a dick. Oh, you could do that as a clause. No dickheads allowed. How can you say no to Bayern? I was dead surprised about that as well. Like Bayern Munich. If Bayern Munich come knocking, and you're any player, unless you're like a proper one-club player, Bayern Munich's, they'd only ever come for you once. I suppose you could say the same thing about every team. No, not really, actually. We went after Sancho 2 summers in a row. Fantastic. Chelsea, the bid's not gone in properly. They've not offered what we want. Nothing's happened so far, but it should be. As I said, David Ornstein said the expectation is that Garnacho will be joining Chelsea. How much for, we don't know yet. Anthony. You know exactly what's gone on with Anthony. The same thing that's gone on with Garnacho. Just clubs making a mockery of United in terms of how they deal with signing players from us. They're all just trying to take the piss to mug us off. That's what they're trying to do. With Anthony, this is the latest from Mike McGrath from The Telegraph yesterday, saying United are in talks over a deal with Real Betis. We want money. They want him on loan. And they're just taking the piss by doing so. Right? They're just taking the piss. And then you've got a couple down there. You've got, Taro Malacia. I feel really sorry. Damn, that's a bit of a bad photo for him. His face looks really swollen there. I feel sorry for him, but because of his fitness issues, no club's come in for him. No club wants to take the risk on him. And as it stands, Malacia is just kind of going to chill out at United for a season. I mean, he has to play football. He can't just spend, because he won't get a minute at United. What do you think happens with him? Because his wages aren't a big issue. I imagine he would not subsidise his own aid, but I imagine he would forego some of his wages just to simply play football again. Like maybe back in Holland. I don't know. Where he went PSV last season, didn't he? Ended up winning the title with them. I'm not sure how much he actually played. Sam, how unpleasant could we make it for Sancho and Garnacho? Unfortunately, not as unpleasant as they can make it for us. And that's the truth. It's kind of something like, I know this is a really, really random segue. It doesn't really have any relevance whatsoever. But when I went through all that stuff with my tenant, the nightmare one, I never really realised how little power a landlord has. Now, I know that kind of exists because there are arsehole landlords. Now, I'm not one of them. I just had what was my former home that I then still had after a divorce, and I rented it out to someone. I had absolutely no power to do anything against this bloke who was just destroying the flat, refusing to pay rent, lived in squalor, and I couldn't do anything. It's kind of what it feels like with United and some of these bloody contracts that we've handed out. The difference is that we handed the contract out, so it was kind of a bit of self-sabotage. But it's something that I'm now, United don't really have any power to get rid of these players that they're desperate to get rid of because we gave them such ridiculous contracts that none of the clubs willing to pay those levels. Therefore, it's always a step down in wages. Yeah, it's just that, I mean, I suppose we already knew it, but the power that players have it's pretty mad. Or maybe that's exactly what it should be. Don't know. Mr. Men should have told me I would have got rid of him. I literally couldn't do anything, man. I had to go the whole way to court. And even when I won in court, and even when I got the court order, he still ignored it for months. Oh, man, I've never in my life, and I hope I never have to again, never had to bite my damn tongue so much. When I was so in the right for so long, and you still couldn't do anything. It's grim. Carl saying, can you isolate them into a temporary container facility? Just give them a big portaloo. Training that. Give them a ball. And give them a sponge. There you go. Rip up the contract, take a loss, someone says down there. Let's get this twat off my screen. But, United really have got a busy last 6 days coming up. I imagine if I was to predict what was going to happen, I think we're getting Sen Lammens in. So I think we'll have a here we go. Ideally today, right, on Sen Lammens. That'd be nice. Good, we've got a new goalkeeper in, who's not a number one, by the way. And that's one thing you're going to have to remember. We're working on the profile for Sen Lammens in the background currently. It'll tell you a little bit more about him, his character, his mentality, his career path to date, why United have signed him, what the data is saying, etc., etc. But he's not a number one goalkeeper. He's coming in as competition for the number one spot. But right now, we need a new number one. So kind of the opportunity is immediate for him. And the expectations will probably be, unfortunately, I think too high on him too early. But that's kind of that's what happens when you sign players after the season has started, isn't it? Because then they come into the circumstances and the context about what's going on. Like people are talking about Onana wanting out. Like, I don't really know. Well, that's just did there. Ola, you're saying, great question, Sam, for a poll. Who does Sam dislike more, Sancho or his ex-tenant? Incomparable. Incomparable. I'm feeling like Cersei. I'm waking up. I'm choosing violence, man. But I didn't. I tried to be the bigger man and all that. The amount of times that I got banned from sending messages and emails to this bloke. Which was the right thing to do. I know. But I wanted to let rip. Anyway. Predictions for this week. We'll wrap up the show. As I said, my mind's been a bit frazzled today. Really has. What an absolutely exhausting summer it's been. I love this, and I hope I do this every single summer for the next however many years. I don't want to go anywhere, but it's been exhausting, this one. We've got 6 days left. I think we signed Sen Lammens. I don't think we sign a midfielder. If we do, it's going to be a surprise one that's probably going to be on loan. I think Hojlund goes. I think Garnacho goes. I think Anthony goes. I don't know what the terms of any of these are going to be. I'm pretty concerned that Sancho we're going to end up being stuck with. I don't know what happens there. That might end up being a move to Turkey, like sending him to Fenerbahce or Galatasaray and paying part of his wages. It's conceivable. But he'd probably still bloody block that. And then Malacia, unfortunately for him, don't think any club wants him. Oh. Right. I'm going to get cracking on the lunchtime video on Kobbie. There's a few things I want to say about Kobbie, about Amorim, the system, Bruno, Jason Wilcox. All right. Someone down there saying Conor Gallagher makes sense on loan. Is he talking to Crystal Palace right now? I think he is. People talking about Casemiro staying. Well, you know what my feelings were with Casemiro going into this summer. Nothing's changed. Look, thank you all for tuning in. If you are new, please do subscribe. As I said at the start of the show and I'll say at the end, the PO box for the community wall, which is up there, is now completely open. If you're from the UK, you can send anything that you want to send and I can put it up on the wall. There's 3. You can only see one big thing here, but there's 3 that go around the room. And somebody said the other day, what do you mean 3? Is your room a triangle? No, it's just that the lights aren't on on 4 walls. The lights are on 3 walls and I've got curtains over there. So you can't have up there. And you're saying Agume's a smart buy. Well, it's kind of always been the case. But United haven't moved yet. All right. Thank you all for tuning in today. I'll be here tomorrow. Ideally, I'm here a little bit later on today with a Here We Go for Sen Lammens. That'll be nice.